It's time now for the markets with Artis sitting in for Leighton Spann, and soybean prices are still attractive right now.
Amy, yes, Leighton's taking a little time off, and he deserves that. But one analyst is going to share his soybean sales strategy for us in just a moment. In the markets today, a lot more cattle are being added to the nation's feedlots. U.S. catfish processing and sales are down, while cotton futures seem to stabilize as the month winds down. Well, we begin the markets with cattle. A new USDA report says that the nation's feedlots are becoming more crowded as summer approaches. Farmweek's Leighton Spann talked with Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley on Monday.
John Michael, what did the cattle on feed report tell us this time?
Well, it told us we've got 11.2 million head of cattle on feed, May 1, which is about 7.5% above a year ago. The pre-report was looking for a number in the 6.5% range, so higher than what we thought it was going to be. The big surprise here was placements, up about 10% from 2010 right at 1.8 million head. That's almost 3% higher than the highest analyst expectation for that number. So more cattle were placed into feedlots in April, and resulting into a larger on-feed number for May 1. So a lot of cattle out there. Just a lot different picture than April a year ago, for sure. That's correct. You know, the higher placements, we've been seeing that trend for a number of months now, and we've a lot of sentiment out there is where are these cattle coming from, because we're hearing talks of tight supplies out there. And I think the thing to remember is prices have been high, giving incentive to place cattle on feed. You've got Mexican imports, feeder cattle imports from Mexico have been not only higher than 2010, but much higher than is typical from that country. So we're getting a lot of cattle out of Mexico. And just, you know, the overall dynamics, you got some drought conditions in the southern plains, Texas, all the way up through Kansas. So that's forcing producers to liquidate, you know, calves that they might would have retained a little longer. They're having to put those into feedlots just to salvage anything because they don't have the grass. So a lot of conditions are at play here that's pushing these numbers higher a little prematurely. But you'd probably say it's just not your typical pre-Memorial Day market right now. It's really not. You look at, we also got a cold storage number out last week. Beef and cold storage up 20% from a year ago. So demand is still a little soft, because typically we're moving beef off the retail shelves, and we're just not seeing that because we're seeing beef stay in cold storage for a little longer. Probably because consumers are putting that money towards gasoline or other expenses. They're being pulled a lot of different directions, and I think beef purchases are one that they're not looking heavily at. So what do you think as the summer goes on? How will things shake out here? I still say eventually we're going to see these supplies tighten, because there's just not enough cattle. These cattle have got to stop coming from somewhere. Demand is going to be the kicker.
That's Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley with Farmweek's Leighton Spann. Well, lean and mean is how one catfish farmer is recently quoted as describing the aquaculture sector. The May 20th processing report indicates processing and sales are down, but prices are still up. The average pond bank price paid to U.S. producers in April was $1.14 per pound. That is 6 cents per pound more than March and 33 cents per pound higher than it was a year ago. Farm sales totaled over 23 million pounds round weight. That's a drop of 36% from April of 2010. Processor sales were an even 14 million pounds, a decrease of 24% from the same time last year. Well, we talk about forage in our last trivia quiz for the month of May. And here's the question: what is the best time of day to cut hay? Your choices are in the morning, in the early or mid-afternoon, or the late afternoon. I'll have the answer in a couple of minutes. Well, slow planting around the country is keeping soybean prices firm these days. Analyst Alan Brugler says you definitely want to have some beans already on the books at this point, but he cautions producers not to hurry selling the rest of the crop.
These are definitely attractive prices. You can make money as a producer at this level, but at the same time, your input costs are going up. Your fuel costs have been widely advertised as how high gasoline and diesel is. So you don't want to part with everything just because it's a high price. You want to make sure you have the crop, first of all, and that you've got crop insurance on it. Then you can start to be a little more aggressive on sale.
In the rice sector, the market continues to react to the prospects of a substantially smaller long grain crop this year. The crop was already expected to be down from 2010, even before the flooding. Now, a substantial amount of rice acreage is probably out of the equation altogether for this year. Some analysts say anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000 acres in Arkansas alone is not expected to be planted. Well, Dones reports that the December cotton futures contract appears to have found a bottom for now. Analyst Tom Fitzenmeyer agrees and thinks steady is the price outlook for the near term.
Internal demand has been pretty good for cotton, but again, they've got flooding problems, weather problems.
Right.
The Texas crops got problems, so I think there's probably fairly good support here. We've had all the fund liquidation in that, just like we had all the other commodities. I think we're going to stabilize here and tend to work higher now for a while. I guess I'd use those rallies when they come along to start making sales there too.
Well, just ahead of the feature story, we have the answer to the trivia quiz for you. B is the right choice today. Extension forage specialist Rocky Lemnis recommends that you cut hay in the early to mid-afternoon time frame. Go to msucares.com, click on crops and then forages to find out why.